Welcome back to the channel for this video on playing Lord of the Rings, the card game on DragnCards. To start, after you've made an account on DragnCards, just go to the home page and click on Lord of the Rings Living Card Game, create a room, public or private, and wait for it to load. And once you're in, select the number of players, and in the top left you're going to have this little text box that guides you through the setup and gameplay. So just following the instructions there, go menu, load to load player decks. You're going to want to click on load via URL. This allows you to load a deck from RingsDB. You click on that and just go over to RingsDB and get a URL from one of the decks. You can do this with a published deck or private decks. So this is a published deck, and you can just copy that URL and paste it in DragnCards. But if you want to play with a private deck, you can do that as well. You just go to your private deck and copy that URL. The only thing about the private decks is you need to make sure that in your profile, so if you go here and click on Edit Account, in your account settings, you need to have this checked, which says Share My Decks. That allows DragnCards to access your private decks. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to take this deck and go menu, load the URL. Okay, it'll tell you it's importing a deck from RingsDB, and there's my deck, and I've got my starting hand already. Now it says menu, load pre-built to load quest, or W to skip. So I do want to load a quest, so I go menu, load pre-built. And now I'm going to select Passage Through Mirkwood. Okay, it's loaded. I can perform the setup text on this stage 1 quest card. It says, search the encounter deck for 1 copy of Forest Spider and 1 copy of Old Forest Road and add them to the staging area, then shuffle the encounter deck. You'll find that most quests you pick will already have the stage 1A setup already done for you. Of course, it's always a good idea to read the setup text anyway, because in certain cases it might not be done. So in this case, it's already done, and we can flip that over with the F key. And if you're ever curious what keys do what actions, you can go up to View Hotkeys. You can open up this as a window that you can have always open if you want, or you can just hit Tab and it will briefly pop up with all the many hotkeys that this game has implemented. So this is going to probably be your number 1 button on your keyboard for a while until you've learned the most common hotkeys for the most common tasks. So as we saw, F was for flip. Of course, we could have also just clicked on it and clicked flip. That also works. But now the text is saying W to advance to the planning phase. So I'm going to hit W, and you see this round tracker on the side. It's advanced me to the planning phase. It's also, since it's gone through the resource phase, it has automatically given me a resource on each hero, and it has drawn me a card. You'll notice I skipped the mulligan step. You can perform mulligans quite easily. Again, hit the Tab key, look under Game Hotkeys, M. Shift M is for mulligan. Okay, but now we are doing our actions, and then once we're done that, next will be to use the Q key to commit characters, or the W key to skip in case you don't want to commit any characters to the quest. But first we're going to do our actions. We can play cards, and I'm not able to afford much. I can play Protector of Lorien, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. To do that, you just click and drag, and over the character you want to put it on. So let's say I want to put it on Bearvor. You just hover until you see that link icon appear. You can connect it on that side of the card or this side of the card. I'm going to attach it here. And that costs 1 resource. So we spend a resource. There are 2 ways to do this. One is through the hotkeys. So you'll see the key number 1 represents resources. So we use 1 to add resources. We also use 1 to remove resources. And the way this works is explained in this diagram here above. If your mouse is on the top half of the card when you use the hotkey, it will increase the number of tokens. If it's on the bottom half of the card, it will decrease the number of tokens. So if I just hover over Bearvor and put my mouse in the bottom half of the card and press 1, it will remove a resource. Now, we've covered playing cards and paying resources. Now we can move on to the next phase. It says Q to commit character. So you just hover over character. I'm going to commit Eowyn to the quest. And you'll see it's brought me to the quest phase. I'm also going to commit Theodred to the quest. And when Theodred has a response, quest, he has a response where I can add a resource to another, to a hero that's committed to the quest. I'm going to add 1 to Eowyn. So now she's got 2. Okay, I'm done committing characters. It says next, E to reveal, or W to skip. So I just press E to reveal an encounter card. And we've got the Forest Gate. So another location. That's it. We just reveal 1 card because we're just 1 player. It says after revealing, press Z to resolve the quest, or W to skip. So I'm going to resolve the quest with Z. And you'll notice that DragnCards tracks your committed willpower and the threat in the staging area. So I've got 4 plus 1, which is 5. So this is my 5 willpower here. And in the staging area, there's 1 plus 2 plus 2 threat, which is also 5. So there's 5 threat here. And so our net progress we make is 0. So when I press Z to resolve the quest, it says the players did not quest successfully or unsuccessfully. And so we just go to the end of the quest phase. Now it's saying we have an option to use the A key to travel, or W if we don't want to travel. I am going to travel to, I think, the Forest Gate. So after you travel to the Forest Gate, the first player may draw 2 cards. So I use A to travel. It brings me to the travel phase and makes it the active location. And now I have to draw the cards myself. And the key for that is D, draw a card. So I'll press D and D again. Okay, next up, W to advance to the encounter phase. We press W. Now we have an option. So in the encounter phase, we have optional engagement. So we can drag enemies to engage them. So I could just grab him and pull him down. However, let's say that I don't do that. The next step would be engagement checks. So I can press G for engagement checks. Or W to skip engagement checks, in the event that maybe the quest is telling you not to do engagement checks this round. You can skip it. But as it is, we will do engagement checks. I press G, and it calculated what my current threat was, 27, and the threat of this enemy, the engagement cost of this enemy, which was 25. And so I had to engage it. And after he engages a player, it gets +1 attack until the end of the round. So not everything is automated. Some stuff you do have to remember. You still have to read the cards. So I'm going to add an attack token to this enemy so that I remember it. Now to do that, again, we could use tab, pull up the tokens, and we see there's an attack token here at 6. But instead of doing that, let's say I don't remember what number key the attack token is. You can always just hover over a card and hold down spacebar, and it will pop up all the options for tokens on this character along with little buttons. So you can just adjust it like that. And in that case, you don't need to remember the hotkey. All right. So next, W to advance to the combat phase. We press W. He gets dealt a shadow card. And I am going to defend with Bear of War. So I press A to exhaust, and that's in the hotkey menu. You can also click exhaust ready. We reveal the shadow card with F to flip it. There's no shadow effect. So we've got 3 attack on 2 defense. I would take a damage, but I'm going to take this opportunity in this action window to discard a card from my hand to boost my defense by 1. So discarding a card is X here. X. X will discard a card to the appropriate discard pile. So you don't even have to remember, like you don't have to drag it here. You can just press X, it'll go there. And similarly, if you press X on an encounter card, it'll actually go to the encounter discard. So it kind of remembers what discard pile it belongs to. So the X key always puts it in the right place. Okay, so that's it for combat. I'm not really going to be able to attack back. So it's saying the next step is just W to advance to the planning phase. So I'm going to press W, and it's going to go through all the steps back to the planning phase. So it did a bunch of stuff there. It discarded the shadow card at the end of the combat phase. It readied my characters at the beginning of the refresh phase. It increased my threat by 1, brought me to the next resource phase, gave me resources, and drew me a card. So that's it. We're in the second round. We repeat all that again. Let's say eventually we get to placing 8 progress on here. It's going to turn green, saying it's done. To advance the quest, you just discard it. So it's the X button again. And it brings us automatically to stage 2. We can flip that. And then fork in the road. Again, we place 2 progress. And it actually automatically detected, in this case, this card has some automation attached to it, that we completed this stage. And the text says, when you defeat this stage, proceed to one of the 2 chosen path stages at random. So it's giving this option to advance to a random stage 3. So I'm going to click yes. And it chose this one randomly. So we can continue on with that. And then once we're done that, we win or lose the game. And that's pretty much the basics of playing a game in DragnCards. There's a lot of other features which you'll get to explore as you spend more time with the platform. One thing I will mention is if you don't really want to have this thing guiding you through every round and you prefer just manual control for most things, you can always go to View Preferences and turn off Game Step Automation. So if you turn this off, that'll go away, and you can just do stuff manually. There are some hotkeys still that you can use, like the Shift N. So Shift N will skip to the next planning phase. You can still use that when you want to skip all the way to the next round, and have that automation still done for you if you choose to do it that way. So that's an option. If you want to make sure that you have this off every time you play a game, make sure you also uncheck the default column here. And then next time you start a game, you won't even have to bother turning this off. See, There it goes. And then, of course, you can turn it back on. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy playing Lord of the Rings, the card game, on DragnCards. Please let me know if you have any feedback for this plugin in the comments on YouTube, or join the Discord to discuss it. And I'll see you in the next video.